What's going on, Bengals fans? Chris Daughtry here with another edition of Bengals Breakdown. And coming up on today's show, we are going to look at a couple players that the Cincinnati Bengals, I think, should at least consider taking a look at here in free agency that could possibly end up helping their football team. Before we get into that, though, I want to ask you guys to make sure you hit the like button on today's show. Going up, just went back and checked the numbers of our like battle, going up against Joey Peterson and our Ravens channel here at Chat Sports, and we are not really doing a good job. We are about 1,800 likes behind them, and one of the bosses hit me up today, and they were like, Chris, you guys got to do a better job getting more likes on your videos. So help me out. If we don't catch them sooner rather than later, it might be a chance where we get some of our studio time taken away. So make sure you get down there and like today's video, especially if you hate the Ravens. All right, the first player that I want to talk about on today's show is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. The Texans ended up releasing him yesterday, and I think he's a player that the Bengals might consider going after in free agency. Now, the biggest question, I think, with the possibility of signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is, who are you going to bench or release if you end up signing him? PJ Jules, he hasn't really played much on defense, but he's doing a lot on special teams. He's played 47 special team snaps so far this year. Tyson Anderson, even more so, has played 72 special team snaps for the Bengals this year. And look, I just don't think Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would want to play special teams, and especially, we'll get into the diva aspect here in just a little bit. He has in the past, but really hasn't played a ton of special teams at all, just a handful of snaps since that 2021 season. And I honestly don't think that he would just want to do that if he were to be signed by another team. And to be completely honest with you, when it comes to Geno Stone and Jordan Battle, I think both of these guys have actually played pretty well so far this season. Jordan Battle, he's a guy that has stepped up here in another year with the Cincinnati Bengals, and especially in the run game too. He's already actually has half the amount of tackles that he had all of last season. I think he's at about 23 tackles. Last year is about 58, so a little bit less than half, but still, you're only 3 games into the season. Geno Stone, really just simply hasn't been thrown at so far this season. And to me, what that really means is he's doing his assignments at a very high level. He's in the right place at the right time. He's not getting taken advantage of. And I think these guys are, actually playing pretty well so far this season. The Bengals defense, I think overall, has actually played pretty decent outside of that first game of the season that they played against the Browns. So, we'll talk about another corner here in just a little bit as well. But, when it comes to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I don't necessarily know if, it would be worth signing him at the end of the day. But I want to hear from you guys down at the pinned comment of today's video. If you were the GM of the Cincinnati Bengals, would you sign CJ Gardner-Johnson? Let me know what you guys think. Type S if you would sign him, or P if you would pass. Now, a couple of the issues. ESPN put out an article, it was either earlier this morning or later yesterday evening, about, why the Texans ended up releasing CJ Gardner-Johnson. And really it comes down to he just had a ton of blown assignments this year. And when he did blow those assignments, he was blaming a lot of his teammates on those errors. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not a football coach, but, when you end up getting released by a team because of the blown assignments, it seems like you were probably the reason why those, assignments were blown. He was also criticizing teammates specifically about their contracts. And, I've always kind of heard that it was kind of this unspoken rule that you don't really talk negative about your teammates, when it comes to their contracts. You can say, oh, man, you got to pick up the bill or something like that. If you guys are out at dinner and somebody makes more than you, you can make those jokes and things like that. But, there's specific players on the team that he thought he should be paid more than them. He was also complaining about his role in the Houston Texans defense. He wanted to blitz a little bit more, and it's apparently something that they didn't want him doing. And, he also requested a trade with the Houston Texans. So there's just, with him, there is a lot of these diva tendencies, and that's fine sometimes, but especially when it comes to defensive backs. You want somebody that has a little bit of grit, has some little bit of edge, but when you are not necessarily living up to what the play on the field is, it's just not really You can't really afford to have those diva tendencies. Now, he was really good at his best with the Eagles, but this past season, he just really hasn't been doing that with the Texans. So I don't think it would really be worth it to add that type of player to this Bengals locker room. All right, we'll come back to another free agent corner here in just a second, but today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on PrizePicks. This is what we got cooked up for this week's slate of games. We went with a power play on this one, so every single one of these has to be correct for us to come out on top. The max discount on Jalen Hurts passing yards, he only needs a half passing yard. So make sure if you see those max discounts, get those into your PrizePicks lineups. Also, going with the more than on Cortland Sutton receiving yards and the less than on Jake Browning passing yards. I got to be honest with you guys, I am very nervous about going up against the Broncos on Monday Night Football. Their defensive line is really, really good. They're leading the NFL in sacks right now, and I just got a feeling they're going to be living in the Bengals' backfield all night long. So that is the power play. But the good thing about PrizePicks is they also invented the flex play, which means you can cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, even if one of your picks does not hit. PrizePicks is super simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. So download the PrizePicks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down at the pinned comment of today's show. It's also going to be in the description of today's show as well. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Now, with Cam Taylor-Britt and DJ Turner both dealing with some injuries and some inconsistent play at times as well, I think the Bengals might even take a look at signing somebody like Stephon Gilmore, who is still out there in free agency right now. When it comes to Cam Taylor-Britt, he was out last week, didn't play with that hamstring injury. I will say, I thought CTB actually had a, pretty decent game against the Jacksonville Jaguars a couple of weeks ago. Against the Browns in week 1, he didn't really have a good game. But against the Jags, I thought he did pretty well. He was targeted 3 times, didn't give up a catch, also had a couple pass breakups in that game. But, now he's dealing with that hamstring injury, and hamstring injuries can be, a real fickle type of injury where if you come back too early, you can injure it a little bit more. It ended up keeping him out of that Vikings game. Hopefully, he'll be good to go for this game on Monday Night Football. But DJ Turner as well, they had him out there. They had Josh Newton out there, and they had Dax Hill also out there. He was playing mainly in that slot still. Josh Newton was kind of in that role that Cam Taylor-Britt is supposed to be in. But, I don't want to really pick on DJ Turner here just too much because I do think the defense has actually played a little bit better than this season than I think a lot of us really expected it to. Ironically, it's really been the offense that has looked, super bad this season, even when Joe Burrow was out there. But Stephon Gilmore is still unsigned. Would he be an upgrade? I don't necessarily know. We thought that, Dalton Reisner was going to be an upgrade over Lucas Patrick, and you haven't really been able to run the football since Lucas Patrick got hurt, but that's a different topic for a different video. So I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. Would signing Stephon Gilmore make this team better? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Type Y for yes or N for no. Now, if you wanted to sign Stephon Gilmore, obviously you would have to make a roster spot somewhere for him. It doesn't necessarily have to be at that cornerback spot. The Bengals are also carrying 5 tight ends on this roster right now. Who are you going to let go there, though? I don't really know. Is it going to be Cam Grandy? Probably not. Stephon Gilmore, he was pretty decent when he played last season with the Vikings. He was at least serviceable for them. But, just because he was good last season doesn't necessarily mean that he would be good this season as well. There's a reason why he is still unsigned right now. So, I think it would be smart, at least for the Cincinnati Bengals, to do a little bit of homework on Stephon Gilmore, find out why right now he is unsigned. Maybe he just doesn't want to come back to football anymore. Maybe bring him in for a workout, see if he's still got it, and just go from there. But, Stephon Gilmore might be an option that could help out this Cincinnati cornerback room. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to Bengals Breakdown. We're going to be live for every single Bengals game. We'll also have Bengals news and rumors all season and all off-season long for you guys as well. To hit that sub button and join the community here at Bengals Breakdown, it's youtube.com/BengalsTV.